Okay, so I just want to have a chat about how we're going to structure the report. Okay, I'm going to show you an exemplar, and then I've got a bulk email to send that's going to have all of the data that we need for the folio. So we're week 2 now, and I think I'd said week 3 Friday draft. I'm going to push that back to week 4. Okay, so Friday of week 4 will be the draft, and so then the final will be Friday of week 6. All right, is that everyone okay with that? So Friday of week 4 draft, so that's 2 weeks from now. So plenty of time to get started, get cracking on it. So that'll be your draft. That's optional, but recommend you submit it. So this document here, this is what I call a sort of generic report format. And I will email it to you so you can use it, but feel free to edit it to how you see fit. So this is how a mathematical, we call them reports, we call them investigations, and we call them folios. We use those words synonymously. All right, and so this is the kind of structure it's going to have. You're going to have your name in a header, and we've got an introduction. Now, I think all you're talking about in the introduction is what's the purpose of the assignment and what are the methods that you're using. Okay, so you've got 2 sentences that you're answering. The purpose of this investigation is to, blah, blah, blah. This will be done by, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to be a bit more specific, you can talk about what's happening in part 1 and what's happening in part 2. I often say, write the introduction last. I always see kids that pull out the folio to get started, and they sit at the introduction, and they might type a word, and then they backspace it, type another word, and they backspace it. They don't get anything down on the page. Write it last, because it's only once you've completed the report that you know what it's about and you can clearly articulate what it is that you're doing in the report, okay, once you've finished it. So I say, just leave it blank for now, fill it in later. Okay, so then we get to part 1, and really all I'm doing here is pointing out how we structure things, okay? So you can have an intro sentence to what's happening in part 1. Anytime we've got a table, all right, we need to label tables, we need to number tables, because then whenever you refer to tables, you reference the, as in table 1, you can see this. As shown in figure 1, you can see this. Okay, so I'm only pointing out how we structure it here. Moving on down to the analysis. So for your assignment, we've got part 1, where you make the roller coaster that you're given. Part 2, where you design your own roller coaster. So they're the 2 components of it. Then we have an analysis. So I've only written 3 prompts there. If you submit a draft, I'll provide a lot more prompts on things you can write, but I just want you to have a go. Based off those 3 questions, what are some things that you think you should analyse? So in the analysis, we've got mainly 3 things we're looking at. The reasonableness of results. Okay, so if you look at the SACE criteria, the rubric, that's the words that it uses, so they're the words we should use. Are the results reasonable? What are the assumptions that you've made in making the roller coaster? What are the limitations of this 2-dimensional model? What can you do to improve the results? So I've written some prompts there. It's not question, answer, question, answer. An investigation is never question, answer. You are performing an investigation. So I've written there, do not answer in question, answer format. Integrate the question into your text. So here's a good example of it, all right? So if one of the discussion questions is, what is the percentage of people with blue eyes in the class? And then you just wrote 33%. There's a question, here's the answer. We don't want that. We're moving away from question answer format. Instead, you can make a statement, and the statement incorporates the question into it, right? If you make this statement, instead say, the percentage of people with blue eyes in the class is 33%. There's no question, but you're performing the investigation and you're making a statement about what you're investigating. In your conclusion, you summarise the findings, any references you have, and sometimes, we generally don't use appendices in year 11, but you're welcome to put stuff in there. That's where you have non-essential information. Okay, I've got 3 sort of things here to chat about. The first is, in a maths report, you often hear people say, how many words should I write? Okay, and I'm going to say as little as possible. All right, you want to write as little words as possible, because in a maths report, you're not trying to be creative or use long words. You're trying to be the opposite, trying to be concise. We're all about facts, dot points. Here it is. Here's the information you need. So we say be short, sharp, and shiny. All right, so be very clear in what we're saying, very precise, very concise. Don't waffle rubbish, don't repeat yourself, writing as little as possible. The second one is being consistent with format. All right, so like pick a heading format and then just use that throughout. So the introduction, I've just used heading 1 in my settings here, heading 1, heading 1. You know, anytime I'm labeling a figure or table, they've all got the same format. And then anytime I'm just writing text, it's all the same font. Okay, so you're consistent with how you've formatted the assignment. And the last one is, and you should be pretty familiar with this from science, is we use what's called passive past tense. So we remove all personal language from our essay, so there's no we, I, our, I found, and we type in past tense. All right, so it's not that we're going to do it or we are doing it, but it's being done. Okay, so there's 3 dot points at the end. So I'm going to email this through to you so you can have a bit of a look at, and you can feel free to use it and adjust it accordingly. Any questions about format for the assignment? Okay, so I'm going to stop video there, just because I'm going to